Hey, everybody. How are you all doing? This is Adam D'Angeli from Michigan United for Liberty. And tonight we wanted to talk a little bit about what was going to happen tomorrow and why we chose to cancel the event in Lansing. Unfortunately, this was an event that we had put some serious time and consideration into. If you'd seen our previous video or email blasts, we really thought it was important that we, first of all, continue at least one more time to have an additional demonstration in Lansing, focusing on the importance of opening up our state once again, and also, again, saying we're not going to be intimidated or threatened by the governor. There was, at every event that we've done, threats of everybody being arrested and so on, and none of those things ever actually happened. But we wanted to do something different than what we were doing before, which at the last several events were really just your ordinary political rally where people get together and they wave signs and they wave flags and they have speakers and talk about how the issue is affecting people. And we want to do something different, have something much more positive and upbeat, and not just saying something, but actually being there and, in fact, engaging in some of the things that the governor said we weren't permitted to do, engaging in commerce, having live music, having food being served, all these things that we really just don't even get to have anymore. And unfortunately, current events kind of got the better of us here. And we found out yesterday morning that there was another demonstration that was going to be scheduled at the same time. And that was a demonstration. They said it would be a peaceful demonstration, and we hope it will be, but we don't know. And certainly with what's been going on in Minneapolis and Detroit and other major American cities elsewhere, security was going to be a real concern. Even if the thing tomorrow does go peacefully, and again, we certainly hope it does, we don't know that it would have the same outcome if there was also our folks and the other people there at the same time. And that's not to say, by the way, that we think that we're in disagreement on anything. They're on a separate issue, the issue of police brutality. And I think for anyone that's seen the video of what happened to Eric Floyd, it certainly looks like it was a terrible thing that happened, and perhaps even a terrible crime. But at the same time, that also means at best our message would be very confused. The media would not be reporting on just our issue, but also theirs at the same time. And of course, the potential for there being a clash was a real thing, because if you've been on Twitter and Facebook, you know that there are political angles to these things. And we think it's strictly a matter of policy. It's a matter of the fact that we have experienced the most radical takeaway of our civil liberties in recent memory. In living memory, really. I mean, nothing has been like this. Never before have people been told they can't leave their homes at all unless it's with the governor's permission. They can't work without the governor's permission, and what have you. And there has been some backlash to what we've been doing. And some of that comes from just people that are afraid, but there is a certain partisan angle to it. And part of that is because it has been Governor Gretchen Whitmer that has been the sole driver of all of these policies. And, there are certain people of the Democrat persuasion that are simply opposed to what we are doing. And maybe that's for political reasons. Maybe it's for policy reasons. We don't know. But the fact of the matter is simply that we can't invite people into harm's way. And whether or not there would be a clash if we were to do this, we don't know. But it's something that we need to avoid. And the fact is, this is something we can do another day, another time. Maybe things will calm down in a week. I certainly hope they do. But things have been very dramatic these past several nights, and maybe once again tomorrow. So that's the reason why we decided we're going to at least postpone the event. And also because there's a lot more that we want to do anyway. This was the last event that we were going to plan at the Capitol as a demonstration. We are going to be looking forward to rolling out our legislative program, encouraging people to contact their lawmakers. So if and when we overturn the executive order in the courts, and there's been some news on that today, by the way, that I'm going to be sharing with you in a moment. It is also important that we keep the pressure on our lawmakers, because they too may end up passing policies that infringe upon our civil liberties in the name of safety, so they say, or maybe not, but who knows. And additionally, as we've mentioned before, there's also an exciting development that there's the potential for there to be a citizens enacted law to repeal the 1945 Emergency Powers of Governor Act, which a citizens enacted law means that if enough petition signatures are collected, and I think the threshold is around 340,000, then the legislature can vote to adopt what would be a repeal. And in doing so, that would be not subject to the governor's veto, which means that would lift the emergency statute in effect, if it still is at that point. And it may be. So far, the governor has continually extended the emergency order. So we don't know if it will still be in effect in a few months. And more importantly, we don't know if it will go into effect for some other reason again. You have to remember that last year, before any of this had happened, the governor invoked the emergency powers to ban the sale of flavored vaping products. And even then, it was something that was not subject to legislative oversight. It was not subject to a 28-day limitation. It could just go on indefinitely. So there's definitely an important purpose in repealing the 1945 Emergency Powers of Governor Act, because it wildly infringes on the Constitution. And that's also, by the way, the subject of our lawsuit. We got a positive outcome in the court yesterday, which was that the Michigan Court of Appeals approved our motion for an emergency appeal of the lower court's denial of our order for a preliminary injunction. So just to explain to everyone that might not be an attorney what that means, and I'm not an attorney, by the way, but I do know what these terms mean. So the preliminary injunction is when a court says that while the case is still pending, the order would be suspended. In other words, there's a judicial process. There's hearings, there's appeals, there's decisions, and all these things take time. So the question is, can we suspend the order while the case is pending? And that does happen sometimes. There was a free speech case, a college campus free speech case, and I think it was Ohio, where they suspended the college's speech codes during the pendency of the case. So this is, I think the important distinction here is this is not the court's decision on the case in total. This is a pretrial motion to say that while this case is still going on, the executive order would be suspended. The Court of Claims, which is the first court to hear this case, had denied that. That was a decision of one judge. We appealed to the Court of Appeals for leave to take this issue to them. And the Court of Appeals, on a 2-1 decision, said yes. So that does not mean that we have won the case. It doesn't mean that we lost the case when the motion was denied by the Court of Claims judge. What it means is that we won this procedural motion, which means that the Court of Appeals will now hear whether or not we can have an emergency injunction on the governor's executive orders under our separation of powers lawsuit. So that is a positive outcome for us for that. It does not mean we have won. The case is going to still be going on for a long time. And the fact of the matter is, on something that is this profound, this influential, this big, it very well may go to the U.S. Supreme Court to be decided. We've already seen the Wisconsin Supreme Court overturn their governor's lockdown orders. I believe the Illinois Supreme Court overturned their governor's lockdown orders. So we are still hopeful that it will happen in our state. But, if we win, the odds are very likely the governor would appeal that case, and therefore it would go to the Supreme Court either way. So with that being said, we unfortunately, there are actually 4 board members here right now. We were getting together, and actually we had some technical difficulties with our webcams and everything because it is tough out here. I don't have a broadband internet connection. I'm using my phone, and we ended up going back to just one camera. So I am here. There are some others who are not too far away. But I want to open it up for discussion right now about what's going on. I think I've kind of at least given you all what our basic plan is for at least the next few weeks. Our court case is continuing, and we're going to be rolling out some exciting new programs very soon, making it very easy for people to contact their lawmakers and perhaps organizing people for collecting signatures, which I think is, in addition to the actual policy value of getting this thing through, also a great exercise for people to get back into ordinary political activism again. And the fact is, it is the summertime. The illness has gone way past its peak, and there is an election coming up. So political action is going to be important. And that typically means engaging with our neighbors, engaging in our communities, building local organizations, and everything else. So there is a chat on the right-hand side, and I don't see any questions yet, but we do have, it looks like there are a couple of people in here. So if anybody has any questions for me, feel free to type it here. Other than that, I guess I will just keep talking, but I can't do that for much longer because I think I've given basically the long and the short of it. Okay, we got a question here. Ronan D. Tink asks, one, any action pending against mail-in vote fraud? Not from our group. That's not to say there won't be. It sounds like there's a lot going on at the national level about that. I think the Justice Department is looking into this. There's obviously going to be issues with this in multiple states. The concern that we have about this is simply that as an organization, we can't take on every single battle at all times. And we want to keep people focused on our one purpose, and that is ending the lockdown. So that's not to say I personally don't have strong feelings about mail-in vote fraud. I think it's going to be a serious issue. I think you're going to find that a lot of political people are going to be paying very close attention to this because obviously the outcome of the election is very important to a lot of people. But I don't think that's something that our organization itself is going to be pursuing because we want to keep focused on the lockdown orders, and we got to put that first, second, and third. Next question, also from Ronan. It is said that contract tracers will be at polling stations to enforce COVID-19. Any plans to prevent this? We will see. I have not heard that. That sounds far-fetched to me. To compel someone to submit to contact tracing and things of that nature is a serious civil liberties question. And typically when you're in a private setting, when you're on private property, your relationship with your employer, for example, there's things that they can do that the government can't make you do. But to require someone to do that as a condition of voting, to me, that sounds pretty far-fetched. I mean, right now, people are arguing that people shouldn't need identification to vote. People are arguing that they should be able to vote remotely without being verified as to who they are. Some people say we should allow aliens to vote. I mean, there's all kinds of issues relating to voting. So I think it's likely that contact tracers will be at polling stations and they will do that to enforce COVID-19 testing. I think it's doubtful. We will keep an eye on this, but I think it's another issue where, again, as it relates to the election, there's going to be a lot of other players involved in that question. We will keep an eye on things for sure. And I think we are more broadly concerned about civil liberties in general, about the possibility of forced vaccinations, about the possibility of forced surveillance upon citizens as a condition of employment or as a condition of going out in public or of a public education or something like that. Do you want to join us?
Sure.
If you like. All right, Ashley's here. She's going to join us. I actually already got through my spiel, and I was just answering a question here. Ronan had asked about that, and I think I just answered it. The chat is open, so if anybody else has any additional questions for us, Ashley is here. So fire away. If you have any questions, it looks like there are still a few more people here. But right now, we're, as I said, very disappointed that we couldn't come out to Lansing tomorrow, but I think it was going to be in the public safety. You know, we have never encouraged people to bring firearms to our events, but some people have chosen to, and, you know, civil disobedience and armed resistance don't mix. And you have a duty, if you're going to be an armed citizen, to avoid conflict. And, you know, we don't want to get people involved into a physical confrontation when there's no need to do that. I mean, the fact is, with our other demonstrations, we made our point about not wanting to be browbeaten by the governor and that we weren't going away. But at the same time, and I think we had an important message with our event tomorrow too, which is that we're going to start, engaging in commerce and being more proactive in reclaiming our liberty. But it's not worth the trade-off for what had happened that day. So with that, I don't see any more questions. We will give you all a few more minutes here in case anybody has any other questions for us. Otherwise, you can email us at info@michiganunitedforliberty.com. I will give you all one more minute to type, or if you're still trying to think of something, just say, hey, hold on, because otherwise I do want to end the stream because, it's a news conference. We've gone on for a few minutes here, and if there's no more questions, then I guess we're done. So is there anything you wanted to add, Ashley?
Since I came in towards the end, I'm not sure what was said.
I covered everything.
Okay.
But feel free to say anything.
I have faith in you that you did an excellent job. So.
Oh, fair enough. Thank you. Ronan says link on your website didn't work. What was the link to? What was that link? What link are you referring to? Was it the link to this video? Link to what? This news. Okay, so we have had some technical difficulties tonight. We have been trying a YouTube live stream for the first time. We hope to be using Google Hangouts and have multiple people at the same time. We posted the link originally to our channel, and I guess you all had found this by refreshing our channel page. When I was using the YouTube thing, it wouldn't let me just start the existing link to go live, and unfortunately, it's a technical difficulty that we had. But what we will do is we will post this link to our website after it is over. And then if you have any additional questions for us, you can always email us at info@michiganunitedforliberty.com. Okay, Sarah Jones asks, what is the time frame for the decisions? That's a good question, and it is not clear. However, most of these things have been happening relatively at the speed of light compared to most lawsuits. I mean, typically litigation is a very cumbersome process. Usually when you file a motion, the other side has at least a couple of weeks to get to answer. You get another couple of weeks to answer what they say. You can request a hearing in person, or you can argue your motions just in writing. That being said, things have moved very quickly in this case. I don't think we're going to see any further action for at least 1 week because things do need to be scheduled. So I will be surprised if we have anything that comes in less than the next 7 days. But I do think because this is an issue of a public emergency, we have filed for emergency review of the case on the basis that everything it's related to is a public emergency. So we are hoping there'll be something on this very soon. But what's the time frame? We can't really say. And typically in litigation, a court can use an opposing party can use stalling as a tactic. Yep, they can. They can file objections. They can file all kinds of additional motions that hold things up. So we shall see. But that has not happened yet. The governor opposed our motion for the emergency appeal. She was defeated 2-1. So we're happy about that. And hopefully that means things are going to continue to move quickly. We don't know for sure anything can happen in the court, but it looks like things are moving pretty quickly here. In fact, basically, it looks like our case will be heard by the Court of Appeals first among all of the other cases, because that's the first one that's gotten the green light from the Court of Appeals. So that's going to be real exciting. Okay, going once before we call it a night, and going twice. All right, well, hey, thanks everybody for being here. As I said, sorry about some of the technical difficulties we had, but we will upload the video to our website. And again, if you have additional questions, we will try to be better next time on maybe a future live stream. So feel free to email us questions and we'll go through that. So we'll see how that goes for the next time. But thanks everybody for being here, and look forward. Oh, we got another update. Any update on the DOJ lawsuit against the state of Michigan and Governor Whitmer? Not that I am aware of. In fact, I'm not aware that a lawsuit has even been filed. I think they were looking into it. There was a Justice Department attorney, Matthew Schneider, who announced he was looking into things. If there has been a lawsuit filed, then you know more about this than I do.
Same.
We will see. I think what you might be referring to, though, Larry, is that state House and Senate lawsuit against the governor. And because that was filed, I am aware of that. We filed an amicus brief in support of that. We have not heard anything back on that yet either. So again, though, we're going to keep you all posted about that as well. I think that's also a very strong case. I think the legislature has some very powerful arguments here. First of all, they can say that the 1945 law requires what the governor does is reasonable. They can say, we don't believe this is reasonable, and therefore it doesn't fall under that description. There's a lot of arguments they can make, but again, I can't speak on behalf of the state House or Senate as to what their legal strategy is. So we'll see how that goes, but hopefully they'll have a good outcome at the Court of Claims, if not the Court of Appeals, if not the Supreme Court. So other than that, we will keep you all posted. Thanks again, everybody, for coming, and have a great night. Enjoy your weekend. How do I end this stream? There we go.